Right then, this is Kate on from part 1, taking a look at the awesome classic 60s streets in the sky architecture at Thamesmead, London. If you haven't seen part 1 yet, see this first. So then, carrying on from where I left off, and along we go to the absolutely awesome Western End streets in the sky. Now just take a look at this. This is such unusual architecture, you just do not see this hardly anywhere. It is the 60s classic. This is just such an awesome design. Just look at this, like high level walkways just going all round the place. It's a maze of high level passages. There are 2 levels here, the lower level and the upper level, and you go along these walkways to go between the different buildings. And unlike the eastern streets in the sky, these passages are never straight. They're all wiggly, going over places. It's like a maze of walking around, going all over places. It's just so fun. Such awesome architecture. So then, if you really want to enjoy this architecture, one really good way of doing so is just taking a run along this maze, and you can really get a feel for it. Let's go. And just running along here, you really get a feel for all these twisty passages going everywhere, all over the place. Real 60s grotty, so awesome. And just look at some of these different parts of this building, like this bit of high level walkways going across. There's quite a lot of junction going off to other little bits of housing which is not quite on the main path. Just such a great design of architecture. The only thing that spoils it is they've replaced all the windows with horrible UPVC. Oh dear, that does not fit the architecture at all. What idiot decided this? What ugly windows. They're just like bog standard, horrible, ugly UPVC double glazing. Anyway, let's carry on running around this building, and this is such fun architecture, especially to run around like this, because the design of this building is so fun. And along we go to the lift, and we'll come back to the lift later. And if you look here, you can see walkways going everywhere, just how I like it. And here we can get some pictures looking over across that this bit in the middle of Thamesmead. And this little bit here is actually very secure. I've secured it off. I've secured off all of the walkways going to it. It's like the people that live here want to live in a closed community. But anyway, let's carry on looking around this bit. And this place never goes ordinary. All the time you're walking along, it keeps changing continuously, non-stop. Such fun architecture, and twisting and changing the whole way through. So awesome. And let's go on looking around. Let's take another run along this awesome architecture. This is just the absolute design classic of Thamesmead. It's just disgusting how pulled some of this down. This should be listed. It's so unusual and so awesome. This bloody well should be listed. And now let's go up the lift to the upper level. The lift here, last time I was here, was a 1960s express lift which was modernised in the 80s, 90s. Sadly, it's now been modernised again and now looks total shit. Anyway, now we're up here on the upper level, and let's take a look at the architecture from up here. And it is so awesome. Look at this. Passages going everywhere. And again, it's very similar to the lower level, except when quite a few bits of passages don't literally follow the same path, and some bits they do go slightly different routes just to keep the building interesting. Because as you go along, this building never gets boring. There's so many interesting bits to it. And outside of this building, there is a horse just tied up on a public bit of grass. That's quite random. Anyway, let's go on looking around the upper levels. There's so many different bits of this architecture which is totally awesome. I just did not know which bits to take photos of first. This is that awesome. Look at all of these passages, and this weird bit here where it's got this sort of canopy thing. It's like a station, this bit. These bits here, and you've got these sort of walkways going off, leaving the main passage to go to some houses. These passageways just go on and on. It goes on for quite a long way, this bit, and it's really fun. Now, going up to the northern end of this bit of streets in the sky, and there used to be a bridge across to the bit which is now demolished. And you can see here, this is like a walkway, and the walkway just abruptly ends. But there isn't like a big bit of concrete on the end, nope, just a bit of temporary railings. And it's right here where's a bridge across to over there where the demolished part of this estate is, and where they're now building as horrible, new, yucky buildings. Anyway, going further on north on this estate, there's actually another bit of the streets in the sky which is about to be demolished. But before we look at this, let's now go along to the very middle of the estate. And this middle bit isn't as interesting because the buildings aren't really particularly that tall or wonderful. It's like a smaller version of the streets in the sky buildings. Very interesting, really nice in the 60s, but not really that interesting. So now we go along up to the northern end of the estate, past the demolished buildings, past this really sad little bit of streets in the sky which is waiting to be demolished, and up along we go to this northern bit. And now this bit does have entry doors added. But since this bit is waiting to be pulled down, it's not really that secure, and you can easily just walk around and get around these entry doors. And here we are in the northern end of streets in the sky. This bit's looking looking very sad. It looks very run down, very much like just about to get rid of it. And if we look at the building right on the very end, you can see it's already partly demolished. They're like going along demolishing a building in stages, it looks like. So this was empty house, completely derelict at the end here. I did want to have a look around this abandoned bit because I like abandoned buildings, but sadly I did not manage to find a way in. Anyway, let's take a look around this northern end of Streets in the Sky. And it is the same architecture to the western end bit, and this bit originally is linked up. It was like continuation of the long walkways, but sadly now it's being cut in half and this bit's now been separated. Why are they pulling down such awesome architecture? It's just disgusting. These buildings are just classics. They shouldn't be allowed to pull these down. Anyway, now we go along to the lift. And this type of lift I remember from last time is a 66 Express, which was modernised in the 80s, 90s. Let's ride it! And now, can I open this lift up? Nope, once again, despite the fact it has older doors, I still can't get my drop key to work. Anyway, let's now take a look around the upper levels of this bit of Streets in the Sky. And again, such awesome architecture. Just look at these passages. So awesome. And halfway along this section, there is another set of entry doors. But hey, once again, I managed to get around them. I don't even know why I bothered having entry doors, such as this entry door here. You have to press one to get out. Very secure getting in, but you can just walk around and take another way in. I mean, these entry doors don't really do anything. Very odd. And if you walk right up to the other end of this section, and you can see they've demolished the house at the other end as well, and you can see sort of part demolished. And now, we now leave Thamesmead, and we now go up to the north, across the roadway, and to the Thamesmead Extension Estate. I think this is called the North Thamesmead Estate. This estate was built later, I think it was built in the 70s, and there's still some really interesting architecture here. And notice they've got the same sort of concept of like these flats, the walkways going between them, but it's very different architecture to the Streets in the Sky in the main part of Thamesmead. And just looking at these buildings, you can see these are slightly later. You can see the concrete's a lot more smooth, and there's something about the architecture which makes me sort of think 70s rather than 60s. And also some of these bridges are quite interesting. Some of them are actually higher than the main part of Thamesmead. Just look at this bit here, we've got these like bridges linking across the buildings. Very interesting. And now, it was quite a bit of work sneaking into these buildings, so they all have entry doors, but I managed to get in by waiting for someone to come out. And the lift in the Northern Thamesmead Estate is a stupid generic. Anyway, going up to the top floor of this lift, and here we can take a look at the bridges. Very interesting, there's actually entry doors going the whole way along this estate, so even now I've managed to get in, I can't walk the length of it, which is very annoying. And now, going out of this part of the estate and walking along right to the very end of this section of the estate, and the lift is an express! Yes! Right then, I'm not sure if these are the very original express buttons, because these buttons probably got replaced a couple of times, as over the years these lifts have had quite a bit of vandalism. I know Express were still using their classic second generation vandal resistant buttons into third generation, so these buttons might be like an Express replacement towards the late 80s. Sadly though, the motors had variable frequency mod, the logic's been completely replaced, so it doesn't run that nicely, but nevertheless it's still very nice to see some Express buttons. Let's ride it!